I'm joined here today with Dominic Macjack. Dominic, I watched a film for my race and representation class. It's called Skin. It is about apartheid in South Africa. Sandra, the main character, had an intersectional experience. Her experience was not only was she black during apartheid in South Africa, she's also a woman in South Africa. And both just the experience of being a woman and experiencing things like sexual assault or, pressures from parents to get married or to date a certain type of person, all occur in this film that I'm discussing. Sandra's parents were not understanding at all for old people or whatever, like older people, like middle-aged. They were less understanding during the time of apartheid than they would ever be today. So you can imagine how insanely, racist or bigoted or whatever they were just because of the reality of the time period in which they grew up. Naturally, products of their environment and racist. So I want to talk about how we, as suburban white kids here in the United States in 2020, are products of our environment as well. We are at a location of an area in which racism affected our lives racism affected our lives when we discovered the power of racism was at right behind us, actually. Yeah. Literally right there. Right over there. On that field, we were in middle school. We were 12 years old, 13 years old, and we were playing baseball right there. Racist jokes were something that were extremely present in middle school, at least in our circles. Yeah. And for sure. They not only seemed like they were okay, they seemed like they were harmless, because as white kids, we don't understand the power that is not necessarily the power, but the weight that is behind these so-called racist jokes that I would just Google online and click on the first website, and there were these racist as fuck websites that had a bunch of racist jokes, and I thought they were hilarious. That was basically the only genre of joke I knew, and I just wanted to be a comedian. And it's not the way to do it. And it's also not the way to do it to whisper it into your friend's ear when he's getting, fucking, basically just teased, during fucking PE. I was whispering into his ear to say things to these black girls that I had gotten from these racist joke websites. And it was extremely hurtful an hour after it went down, because immediately after we got done with PE, what did you see, Dom?
Well, the counselor actually asked me to go in the office to take a test. So I went in there, and so I was taking a test in the counselor's office, like right after the baseball game. And then I got done. I was going back to their office, and I see the girls in there just crying their eyes out, just bawling. It was terrible. Terrible experience.
Yeah.
Never want to relive that again.
No.
Horrible.
So, Dom walks in, sees Jayla, Taylor, and Ariel in the same room, and they're crying. Understandably, in hindsight, they're crying. They're bawling their eyes out because, if I may make a claim about growing up black that I think that I've learned recently, it's that the history of slavery is almost like genetically passed down, like through stories and sometimes just tales of like how oppressed like black people have been. And I'd imagine that being a girl in middle school and actually encountering that racism for the first time was horrifying. And not only that, she told her like brothers and shit, and one of her brothers wanted to come and like just fucking kick our asses, which I fucking understand, because we were being fucking
charges,
assholes, idiots. We were being
dicks,
ignorant. Yeah, fucking just racist as fuck, and that's not okay. Racist jokes are just as harmful as racist tropes. like saying that all black people are violent or, just common racist claims. Like, racist jokes just perpetuate that, if anything. And to be somebody that perpetuated it in middle school, was immediately reprimanded. It was impactful because we sat down in the same room at a table, probably slightly larger than this, and we sat down with the three girls who we were demeaning, and we fucking had a conversation. Like, at the time, I kept claiming, like, when they were saying things like, my grandma was a slave. That's really hurtful to me that you would make jokes about slavery when my ancestors were slaves, and she grew up hearing stories about slavery. And I didn't realize that, because I didn't grow up hearing stories about slavery besides the 15 minutes each year that we would breeze over slavery in public school, maybe like an hour. That immediately was extremely powerful, because if it were not for that discussion, and if I had not sat and listened and was open to listen to a different perspective of somebody who didn't look like me, I wouldn't have learned the importance of inclusiveness and equality, and the importance of anti-racism, for example. Calling out racism when you see it in the real world, and recognizing when things that happen in your life are perpetuated by racism. So I am very much a person that believes people can change because of that. I was in middle school, and I was very much a product of the suburbs in my environment. So naturally, I was racist because my environment was racist. Because the suburbs were about legally keeping black people from buying homes in the suburbs during the 1960s, and then trying to perpetuate that later. And in some places, black people are not welcome in the United States to live there. They'll be driven out by racists. And it's not necessarily that bad in the suburbs, but there is hints of that shit that do occur when you grow up here. So, Dominic, thank you for talking to me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
And I hope that you gained something out of this project. I know I gained something out of this project, and it was a short conversation, but I hope we come out the other side better, just like how we come to McCleskey to this day to improve at skateboarding. And skateboarding is just a metaphor for self-improvement in life overall. So we get our ass beat at this very location where we were dickheads, and we deserve it. And every day we try to overcome, the things that from the past that haunt us today. So here we are getting over it, and here we are gonna get better at skateboarding.
We're having fucking fun. We're doing everything we do. See, I got my board out here.
Yeah.
You wanna flip the camera, pop a ollie or something?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Thanks for joining us, Dom. Let's finish this off with an ollie or a shove it or whatever. You do you.